The world as we know it is now consumed by computers, cell phones, videos, and social media. Communication with others from across the world can be done in less than a second, and it has allowed the world to become a much smaller place. Now, looking back through history, telecommunications has come a long way. Telecommunications is actually defined as the science and technology of communication over a distance. So throughout history, humans have been trying to improve and convey information quickly, accurately, and efficiently, and communication is the key to our survival. Our rapid progress throughout the ages shows exactly how the human race has grown and pushed for progress in telecommunications. So let's take a look at how telecommunications has developed throughout the ages. During the prehistoric era, prehistoric man relied on fire and smoke signals as well as drum messages in order to send information over small geographic areas. Now, these signals were very simple and could be used as a form of an alert system or to alert other clans of predators or enemies. Moving on to 6th century BCE, one of the first postal systems was established by Cyrus the Great of the Persian Empire. Now, his empire was said to be so enormous that he wasn't able to communicate from one side to the other, so that's where the idea of the postal system came from. Now, other ancient powers, including Egypt, Rome, and China, were to go on and create their own postal systems. In 4th century BCE, Grecians designed a new method of communication that created the hydraulic semaphore. Now, it used the concept of smoke signals or beacons that were positioned on separate hills. And on these hills, there would be identical containers with a vertical rod floated in it. Now, when communicating, they would send signals with a torch and be able to synchronize and open the spigots and allow for the water to drain out until the water level was at the desired code that they wanted. Circa 490 BCE was when the heliograph was documented and used by the Greeks. Now, the heliograph including shining of the sun on a polished object such as a mirror or a shield to communicate, but was roughly understood as predetermining of the usage wasn't agreed on most of the time. Moving on to 15th century CE. Now, this was the first documented time that ships were able to communicate between other ships, and this was called maritime flag semaphore. Now, it involved flags being used as codes to signal other fleets by waving them in two hands. And this is similar to what we have today with aircraft marshalling at airports. 1672 was when Robert Hooke was the first credited with the creation of the acoustic telephone. Now, he discovered that the sound could be transmitted over wire or string into an attached earpiece or mouthpiece. 1838, Samuel B. Morse discovered that when connecting two model telegraphs together and running electricity through a wire, you could send messages by holding or releasing the buttons and doing it in a series of intervals. Now, eventually, this became known as Morse code, and they would lay down the foundation of modern landline phones. In 1876, the telephone was invented by Alexander Graham Bell. He first came up with it in the US as a teacher for the deaf and was trying to figure out how to send speech electronically. In turn, he actually invented the telephone and thus contributed to the revolution of telecommunications. 1877 was when the acoustic phonograph was invented by Thomas Alva Edison. By trying to improve and finalize the model for the telephone, he actually realized that by attaching a needle to the phonograph diaphragm and a tinfoil cylinder, he could record spoken words, and thus he was able to record and playback sounds. 1880, Alexander Graham Bell came back again with the money he received for creating the first telephone and tried to work and improve his invention. Now, he then created the photophone, which was a device capable of transmitting sound in a beam of light. AKA, he made the first wireless call in history. In 1927, Philip T. Farnsworth changed the media history when he demonstrated the first working television set. He discovered that you could encode radio waves with an image and then project them back onto the screen. 1946, this was the year that the first telephone call was made from an automobile phone. Now, it was created by Southwestern Bell, but because of cost and small volume of calls, it wasn't a very extensive mobile network. In 1962, the Communications Satellite Act was officially passed and allowed telecommunications to go in space. And then in 1969, the first data was able to be traveled by the system created by ARPANET. Now, this led way to the first computing network. 1973, the first modern cellular mobile call was made by Martin Cooper. Unfortunately, it only had a max time talk of 30 minutes, and it took a year for the battery to recharge. In 1982, SMTP email was created by Jonathan Postal, thus shifting the focus of the internet from security to reliability, using the networks as a relay station to send electronic mail. On January 1st, 1983, the internet was born. ARPANET switched from its previous NCP to TCP/IP, and it became the new standard for networking. And then in 1998, mobile satellite handheld phones were first to be put in place by a company called Iridium. This revolutionized mobile telecommunications and would lead to the modern smartphone we have today. Now, there are many more inventions, contributions, and advancements in telecommunications in the 21st century to be considered. Now, in this day and age, everything and everyone is at our fingertips to be communicated with. Some may even say that we are becoming more reliant on these telecommunications for future survival. But as technology and innovation continues in the future, telecommunications will only expand more and more to allow future ways to instantaneously connect with the entire world.